So it's been quite some time since I've put anything up, and I know I saw in the comments a few people were excited to see a few sparks of hope that I would put something up, and I didn't. But today, this is actually something for my own therapy's sake. I'm going to upload a video because it has to do with part of me dealing with the frustration of the topic at hand, which I've talked about this with a couple friends and stuff about this. And I'm going to talk today about, let's talk today about dysfunctional and broken people. I have wasted so much of my time on dysfunctional and broken people in my life. I have dated these people, I've been in relationships with these people, I've been friends with these people, and I've worked with these people. These people are not anything, they're never any good news. These people are bad news. Because, there is a reason why these people that have been raped, people that have psychological problems, people that, you look at back in the 1920s and even earlier in the 1930s, people that were convicts, people that had drug abuse problems, people that had psychological problems, and basically everything in our society that we consider not as bad as they did back then are allowed to basically roam free like a bunch of people let out of the loony bin, no pun intended. There's a reason why these people that had all these problems ended up in fucking mental institutions, because there was a problem with them. People that had been raped, people that had drug problems, people that were criminals, these people were put in mental institutions back then for a reason. Because they were not able to properly coerce and deal with society as a whole. They were not able to interact properly with society. And the problem is that they started letting these people out, saying, no, that's cruel and treatment and all that stuff. And yeah, they didn't treat them too well. I'm not saying treat them like animals, but there's a reason why these people were segregated from the rest of society. There's a reason why broken and damaged people do not go along well with the rest of society. Because these people hurt themselves, they hurt others, they hurt themselves, and they hurt the people that were indirectly involved with them. Whether they do it intentionally or not, that's what they do. And you're wasting your breath dealing with these people. You just are. I have wasted so much of my time, and I have put myself through so much emotional, psychological stress and unhappiness trying to help these people. To no avail. To no avail. You see, the thing is, when you're dealing with broken, damaged people, the only thing that you can do is treat the symptoms. You can't cure the disease. You can say all the right things, you can do all the right things, you can be there for them, you can do everything right, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, something always goes wrong with these people. Out of the blue, everything can be going perfectly fine, and out of the blue, something gets thrown into a wrench gets thrown into the gears. Because these people are damaged. And you can't help them. I know that's something that we don't like to hear, and it's not a nice thing to say, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care, but it's the truth because I know it with my own eyes. And I've heard it from people that are dealt with these people. I've dealt with these people. These people are damaged for a reason, and that's why they segregated these people in society. There's a thing, that's why they have outcasts. There's a good kind of outcast, and then there's the outcasts that are kind of the bad. When you hear of the general term as an outcast. You have the outcasts, which are people like us, so to speak, that realize that the system and the world we live in is so fucked up, and this place is so screwed up and messed up on so many different levels. And so we decide to be outcast from that system. That's a good outcast. Then you have the outcast of people that have serious fucking problems. They were segregated from the rest of society for a reason, because they caused problems. They affect people's lives. They cause problems. They hurt others and they hurt themselves. And good people get hurt going in to try to help these people. That's the problem. When you're dealing with these people, they when you have a person that is mentally sane and, doesn't have some serious psychological issues going on, and then you throw these people in there to try to go help these people, they come back getting hurt because they don't realize what they're dealing with. You're dealing with a group of people or a person that is seriously damaged, and they hurt others. And they might not do it intentionally, but that's what they do. They hurt others and they hurt themselves. And that's why these people get put into institutions. They get medicated. Because, honestly, if I want to be controversial here, what else do you do with them? Honestly, what else do you do? The mental health system will never do anything to help anybody, especially not these people. And maybe it's because they realize that there's nothing you can do, and so what they do is they go make profit off of it. I'm not saying that's the most moralistic thing to do. It's definitely not. But that's why they do it. Because they know that these people are past the point of help. Now, it all goes to varying degrees. What somebody might go through that causes them to go through some kind of issue. Women that have, I guess everybody wants to hear about women because that's what everybody talks about these days, but let's just go into that. Okay, so women that have been raped or whatever, they will never have a normal relationship as long as they live. It will always be dysfunctional. So, anytime that you hear that, you fucking run away. But our society panders to these fucking people and makes it like this glorified thing. Our world is so screwed up because we allow people that should not, that shouldn't be praised, or we have all these rape groups and everything for all these fucking people, they're all victims. Everybody, they promote it because they want people to remain sick. And when you allow people to remain sick in a victim mindset, they would never get better, and as a result of that, the society never gets better. And then you promote these people, and then everything just goes to shit. So it's just, we live in a very sick world. It's very, very sick. It's sad. It's sad, and we live in a very, very sick world. We have a lot of problems in this world, and it's just not going to be fixed. Just get over fixing anything. It won't be. We live in a damaged, dysfunctional world, just like people are damaged and dysfunctional as a result of that world. We live in a fallen world, and as a result of a fallen world, you're going to have problems. Not, some people do better than others in such a state, and some people don't. Some people have gone through things that isn't their fault, that has caused them to be dysfunctional and damaged. That's not their fault. Nobody comes into this world wanting to be damaged or dysfunctional. We all wanted a fair chance to be well and do well. But it gets to the point where it's like a survival thing. You have to survive. And when you're trying to survive in such a screwed up world, you can't involve yourself with these kind of people, because you will get hurt as a result of it. My last relationship that I was in, was with a damaged woman. Damaged. And I put myself through so much emotional pain and suffering and frustration and anger over a person that never wanted to help themselves. They never did. They never wanted to fix the problem. They resorted to alcohol to fix the problem, which doesn't fix the problem. It doesn't fix the problem. It's a treatment. It's a temporary treatment, but it's not a cure. That's a whole nother thing. But I'll show you. That's why she dealt with her problem. She drank because she didn't want to confront the problems. And it's complicated when you deal with these people psychologically speaking, because part of them wants to fix the problem, but the other part of them can't because it's like a repressed memory. And it's a repressed memory, or it's a block in their mind to prevent them from further getting more damage. It's like a firewall in their mind. So it's very, you see, this is why this is so frivolous. It's so damaged and so hard and so incurable, because you're dealing with so many different factors here. But my last relationship was with a damaged woman. Damaged and dysfunctional and broken. And that's what kind of compelled me to make this video, because I had recently just been having flashbacks and things from that time. And I wanted to lend insight from me thinking about this, and finally coming to the realization through friends that have made me realize this. You know who you are. Helping me come to this realization, and now as I process it, I can now expand on it. These people are broken for a reason. Like I said, it's not necessarily their fault. We don't come into this world wanting to have problems. But people that are trying to not get themselves involved, that are just simply trying to survive, as hard as it is anyway, we don't need these people in our lives. We don't. We can't afford it. It's too damaging. It's too dangerous to get involved with damaged people. Unfortunately, that's the reality of our situation. You stay away from these people. You know, this is going to sound real controversial. I might, I might get banned on YouTube for this. But there was a specific person in World War II that was a Nazi that realized that what he did, and I'm not saying I agree with it, just because I can't really say what I want on this channel, because you know how YouTube is, but he took all those people that were all drug addicts, people that were lesbians and bisexuals and gays and people that had all these problems, and he fucking killed them all, because he realized that these were damaged people, and he had his own intentions that were, you know, good or bad, however you want to look at it. I really don't care. But he realized that these people had problems, and the dude had his own problems. Believe me, he did. But the whole thing of why I bring that up is just because we have to realize that these people are bad news. And in our society now, we promote it. We promote unhealthiness and mental illness, and we make it normal. And so people like us, who sit back and try to figure out and say, well, why isn't this working? Why did this go wrong? Why is it that I try to help and people don't care? Because they're broken and they're damaged, and that's why they don't care. And you can say all the right things, and you can do all the right things, and you can shake these people stupid. They will never realize it. Because they can't. They don't want to help themselves. They can't help themselves. And so, what do? It's very frustrating. And as you can see, I wasted so much frustration and energy trying to, help and fix these people, and it never got anywhere. It never got anywhere. It only made me sick. These people are like energy vampires, man. It's like they've been taken over by something. Excuse me. You get around these kind of damaged and broken people, you get sick. You just get sick by them. People around them always suffer. You suffer, the people around them suffer, and you get sick, and then you start turning it on yourself because you're a normal, sane person. You realize that there's something wrong with these people, but our society tells you, oh no, they just need this and they just need that. No, you're right, they are wrong. These people they have problems. I don't know how many times I can say that. I'm sorry, I'm running out of things. I'm running out of ways to describe this. But it is what it is, and so you get around these people and they just suck the energy out of you, and something always goes wrong when you get around these people. Something always goes wrong. So you stay away from them. That's why Messenger and myself and others have told, we've talked about this either in personal hangouts that we've done or live hangouts that we've done. Why people go monk, why people isolate themselves, because we live in a society full of lunatics. And we can't get around these people because they make us sick and they destroy and hurt others. Unfortunately, we live in a whole entire society full of these fucking people. And that's why it's better just to let them go and stay away from them. It's hard. It's hard for people that want to have genuine human connections with another person and not have to worry about whether or not they're going to pull some weird shit on you later on down the road because they had some weird issue that they never told you about or that you weren't aware of, and so all of a sudden now you got to deal with it. And they pull some fast thing on you and you never saw it coming. And it's hard because we want as people to have a genuine, long-lasting human connection with another human being, whether that's in a relationship with the opposite sex, or whether that's a friendship or something. We're human beings. We have to have that kind of connection. Otherwise, we just don't do too well. And it's hard to have that when you live in a society full of people that are dysfunctional lunatics. And so you go out there and you deal with these people, and then you end up getting hurt as a result of it. And you wonder, what did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. It's not you, it's them. You see women fucking talking about that kind of crap. It's not you, girl, it's them. You're fine, you're perfect. No, you're not fucking perfect. No, you're not. But they tell people this because it's psychotic. It's delusional. And they really do have a problem, and people don't sit there and tell them, you have a fucking issue, and you need to fix it, or whatever. So we promote mental illness in our society, unfortunately. It's really sick. So to save ourselves, it's like, people that, get exposed to radiation, you don't want to be near them because you can get contaminated. You have to isolate them from the rest because you'll get sick if you don't. And that's what we have to do with most people. You see it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, if you're a sane person with some common sense, to see damaged people. You can see them from a mile away. It's their behavior, it's how they act, it's everything. You can see them coming from a mile away. When you see one. All you have to do is sit down and start asking them about what happened in their past and what happened in life and how they dealt with it. You can get a very quick idea, and you'll know right off the bat what happened to them. I think men deal with those problems a hell of a lot better than women do. Men can have a damaged life, but turn it all around. They can go from rock bottom to success because we want to fix the problem. We don't want to be that way. Women, they don't do that. They like to be the victims. They like to be the misery. They love it. They fucking love it because they're sick. That's why we say women are fucking crazy. Yeah, because we live in a society that promotes them to be crazy, and then as a result of lack of parenthood, lack of proper child raising in our society, we basically throw them into the lion's den. In a place, the lion's den being the world, and the whole sick world involved in it. It's so fucked up. It really is fucked up, And it's sad for people that do care. I care about trying to help people, but you have to realize also that you have to protect yourself from damaged and sick people. And most of the time, those are the people that you want to help because you relate to them as a human being. You relate to them in their pain because you've been through pain. But there's a line that gets crossed in the sand, and there's a line that gets drawn where you have to say you can't do it anymore. Because it starts hurting you, you know, it's like it's like a medic. It's like a combat medic, right? And your fellow soldier is got his legs blown off, but he's surrounded by a bunch of mines. Are you going to go walk in the mines just to go get to him? No, because you'll get killed and then you're useless. You have to protect yourself so that you can help others. You have to help yourself so that you can help others. Anybody ever heard of that saying before? You can't help others unless you're healthy. If you're not, you hear about that a lot actually in relationships and stuff. I guess where you hear this saying there where people go, you have to fix the problems with what happened in the past so that you can be a healthy person as you move forward in the next relationship or whatever the hell. There's a reason for that. It's because you're going to bring in problems that were the result of a damaged or broken situation, and then it's going to affect the other person, and then the fucking things just keep getting worse. So you have to protect your mind. You have to protect yourself from these types of situations. Very, very frustrating. I know. Especially about people you care about. Care about, past or present tense, whatever your situation might be. You cared about these people and you hate to see them. You just want to shake them to death and just say, why the fuck can't you just want to help yourself? And they tell you things like, well, it's not that easy and all that. Well, it might not. Nothing is easy in life. And you try to provide some common sense to these people, but they just don't fucking see it because they're, like I said, they're just damaged. There's not much else you can say. That's it. You always in your life, you always want to surround yourself with the best people you can. Mentally, emotionally stable people. People that are going to benefit you in life. People that are going to help you do better. You don't want to be around a bunch of people where all they do is go to the club and party and well, nowadays you can't do that shit because they locked everything fucking down. But you don't want to be around people like that because it's trouble. It's trouble, and I always knew that too. That's why I always hated I never ever enjoyed going to parties or going to drink out at the bar. I never did any of that shit. I hated it. I think it's fucking crazy why people do stuff like that. Because nothing ever good comes out of it. Nothing ever good comes out of any of it. Ever. And I knew that. I knew that in my gut instinct. I knew that it was just bad news. It was all just bad news. And you see these people going in there and you see them coming out of there. And all you see is just a bunch of pathetic, broken fucking people. Damaged people. And problems and all kinds of mess. If Messenger, if you're listening to this, I know you probably will be. I told you something about what happened with that woman that I was with at that time, and it wound me up in a place. That's how damaging these fucking people are. They wind you up in situations like that. That's why you fucking stay the hell away from these people. You have to stay away from these people, I'm telling you. They will hurt you. They will hurt you, and they will hurt your family, and they will hurt everybody else, and they'll hurt themselves. And it's sad, and I know it's sad, and you want to help them because you're a human being and you care about people if you're a normal person. But then you get to the point where you have a person like me making videos realizing that really, there's a limit to how much you can care. You should be selective on who you care about. I think that's the more appropriate thing to say. Be selective who you care about. Be selective on who you help. Because honestly, we all want to save everybody. We all want to try to help everybody out. But when it comes down to interpersonal relations and friendships and things like that, if people don't want to help themselves and they don't want to try and they don't want to care, you're hurting yourself by wasting your time trying to do something to somebody who doesn't want that help. And it is so hard to deal with. It really is. But it's for the betterment of your own good, because you matter too. You're not just because these people decided to go down that path, whether it was their fault or they're not, about their behavior, doesn't mean that you have to too. That does not mean that you have to end up where they're at. Save yourself. You have to save yourself. You can't, there's no reason to hurt yourself because someone else did something or something happened to them. Doesn't mean that you have to. Just because someone else went through some kind of traumatic thing in your life doesn't mean that you have to suffer as a result of it. It does not mean that you also put yourself in a damaging mental state because someone else is in a damaged mental state when they don't even want to help themselves. Now, that is sick in its own way. At that point, that's when you start getting into that's when you start getting into, well, self-harm. You get into self-harm and suicidal thoughts because that energy has now incorporated itself into your mind. And now you're being affected. Now it's like I said, they're like energy vampires, man. They destroy everything they touch. That's why these people get isolated from the rest of society, because they hurt others. But, I guess, unfortunately, if society was actually normal and our opinions actually mattered, and we could actually do something about it, these things would matter. But unfortunately, our world is just too screwed up to change anything about it. It's just too far gone. But at least we can sit back and realize that we weren't crazy. And that as the world gets more and more hectic and more insane every single day, especially now with COVID and all this crap, we know even more so that we're not going to fall into the trap of being hurt as a result of other people's misery. Let me see if I can find, let me see here, if I can find this quote from Robert Greene real quick. "48 Laws of Power." List. Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. Law 10. This is from Robert Greene's book called The 48 Laws of Power. He said, and then one of those laws is called Law 10, Infection. Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. I never read this article. Let's see what it says. Here's what the law is. Judgment. You can die from someone else's misery. Emotional states are infectious as diseases. Hence what I was saying about psychic vampires, these fucking people. You may feel you are helping the drowning man, but you are only participating in your own disaster. The unfortunate sometimes draw misfortune on themselves. They will also draw it on you. Associate with the happy and the fortunate instead. And this is like an explanation of the law, transgression of the law. In the 1980s, says here, I'll read it for you because I know people, I hate reading because I like other people to read for me. So if you have something else, just put it on. I'll read this for you. So here's the explanation of the law. Transgression of the law. In the 1840s, there was a famous dancer by the name of Lola Mones. Lola Mones. Lola's life can be summed up by one giant catastrophe after another. Everybody she touched ended up either dead, broke, ostracized from their community. She decided her mission would be to woo and conquer men who were prestigious, successful, and powerful. Consider her the 1850s version of what we know today as a gold digger. Victim 1. The first man she married went by the name Alexandria Dujara, owner of one of the largest newspapers in France. They eventually fell in love, which is when, I'll just call him D, when D's life began to slide downhill. His fortunes and his business changed, and his influential friends began to avoid him. Later, had their first quarrel about a party that he would not allow Lola to attend. Hopelessly drunk at the party, he insulated and an influential drama critic, Jean-Baptiste Raymond de Boulevard, perhaps because of something the critic had said about Lola. The first morning, Boulevard, I can't pronounce these words, challenged him to a duel. He was one of the best pistol shots in France, blah, blah, blah. He tried to apologize, but it was too late. The duel took place, and Dujardin was shot and killed, ending his life of one of the most promising young men in Paris. Then it goes on to say, okay, blah, blah, blah. She said that she fell in love with somebody. Okay, so basically, drunk on power, using any excuse, okay, blah, blah, blah. It says there are many stories alike to this that continue through Lola's journey. I will briefly list them without the minutiae of the details. So basically, she just took a bunch of men, and poisoned them and hurt them and all this stuff. Okay, so basically, the whole lesson of this here says Lola attracted these men through the force of character using wiles, devourousness and cunning these words, employed by manipulating and persuading to get what she wanted. This is how she kept her lovers engaged and enthralled. Each man was seduced, sucked into the whirlwind of the emotion she conquered. So it says here they would find themselves drawn into her problems, but their emotional attachment to her would make them want her. These type of relationships will always exist naturally. Feel drawn to help those close to us, whether this be a friend, a spouse, or a family member. While it's clearly important to be there for those you care and love, it's those who feign having your self-interest in mind that you become wary of. These are the ones who appear to play the innocent victim while placating on your emotions for aid. In the process, they make the misfortune and misery your own by becoming dependent on you, forming some type of parasitism, partnership. In the process, you are brought down with them by supplicating mentally to help all, no matter what. While this may sound cold and shrewd, it is a choice that has to be made. Most are unable to continue to flourish while this type of relationship because of how challenging it is to stay detached and objective. Once the lover identified with them her problems, he was lost. He would find himself embroiled with quarrels. This is alike to what happened to each of Lola's lovers. The infecting character type is not restricted to women. It has nothing to do with gender. It stems from an inward instability that radiates outward. Drawing disaster upon itself, you could spend a lifetime studying the pathology of infecting characters. But don't waste your time. Just learn the lesson. When you suspect you are in the presence of an infector, don't argue. Don't try to help. Don't pass the person on to your friends, or you will become enmeshed. Flee the infector's presence or suffer the consequences. Those misfortunate among us who have been brought down by circumstances beyond their control deserve all the help and sympathy we can give them. But there are others who are not born to misfortune or unhappiness, but who draw it upon themselves by the destructive actions or unsettling effects on others. The key is distinguishing the difference between the two. Whether you are interacting with someone new, such as making a new acquaintance, or starting a new relationship, it would be wise to thoroughly understand the individual's character and be aware of how this person will uplift you or slowly infect and destroy you. I use the dynamic of word destroy on purpose. Of course, you will probably not end up dying like many of the individuals in the previous stories, but the power of emotion is infectious, and what I am referring to is the metaphorical death of character and vitality of your life. If there are any truth to Jim Rohn's quote, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around," then you shouldn't be extremely cautious or selective of, then shouldn't you be extremely cautious and selective of who they are? So how do these self-destructive habits occur and go on to poison others? Greene provides the answer. It's Robert Greene. The reason is simple. Human beings are extremely susceptible to moods, emotions, and even the ways of thinking of those with whom they spend their time. The incurable, happy, unhappy, and unstable have particularly infecting power because of their character and emotions are so intense. They often present themselves as victims, making it difficult at first to see their miseries as self-inflicted. Before you realize the real nature of their problems, you have been infected by them. How can you protect yourself against such insidious viruses? The answer lies in judging people on the effects they have on the world and not the reasons they give for their own problems. In one sentence, judge by results, not by excuses or words. Is this person simply talking about doing good in the world or helping people, or are they actually going out on their own and executing their mission? By observing how one's actions map against their intentions or words, you can pretty much accurately judge someone's character, values, and virtues. So, in other words, it's all about what you say. It's all about what you do, not what you say. You know, it's all about what you do, not what you say. It's your actions speak louder than words. That quote is priceless, but people don't understand the wisdom behind it. You know. Most importantly of all, do not take pity in the infectious characters. Do not enmesh yourself in trying to help. The infector will remain unchanged, but you will be unhinged. The other side of the infection is equally valid and perhaps more readily understood. There are people who attract happiness to themselves by their good cheer, natural buoyancy, and intelligence. They are a source of pleasure, and you must associate with them to share in the prosperity they draw upon themselves. Associate with the generous, then they will infect you with opening up everything that is tight and Associate with the generous, and they will infect you, opening up everything that is tight and restricted in you. If you are gloomy, gravitate to the cheerful. If you are prone to isolation, force yourself to befriend the gregarious. Never associate with those who share your defects. They will reinforce everything that holds you back. Only create associations with positive affinities. Make this a rule of your life, and you will benefit more than all the therapy in the world. So it goes on to mention more here, and it says, and this is a really good article because this just reinforces everything I was just saying about damaged in people, and what he's saying is, he puts a much better, I guess, ideal to it, but it's all true of what I was saying and what he's reinforcing here. You gotta avoid these people because they'll make you unhappy and they'll suck your life out of you. Never associate with those who share your defects. In other words, find people who share your strength and effort to double down on what you're great in. At the same time, find those who possess your weaknesses in the form of a strength. Before we decide to hang up with a specific friend or start a new relationship, we should be self-aware enough to know our own weaknesses in effort to avoid compiling a negative with a negative. If the person has the same weakness or character defects as you, then your own defects are only going to grow worse. And then he just mentions more here. So that is that article there. So that's that law. Law 10, Infectious, Avoid the Unhappy, and the Unlucky by Robert Greene. Great article. It's really good. So, in summation of everything here, you gotta protect yourself and realize that there are people out there that really don't have your best interest, and most of those people are damaged and broken people. Unfortunately, like I said, you know what? Nobody comes into this world wanting to be put through hardship. But just because they have had bad circumstances doesn't mean that you have to too. Enjoy your life and be happy the best you can with what you got. But just because, someone is grieving doesn't mean that you should have to grieve with them. It's unhealthy, and it's usually a vice for them to cause more damage. So anyways, I think that's all I'm going to be. I think I'm done with this. That's all I wanted to say. I hope everybody's well. I'll be doing a live stream here with Messenger, Warhorse, and myself, probably next Tuesday. Look forward to that. And you guys take care. Have a good one.